All right, so this is not a live stream, this is a video I'm recording. But as I've been explaining in my live streams today, I am going full negative. I'm embracing the negativity, negative mindset. And that's simply because when I'm in a positive mindset, bad things happen to me. And when I'm in a negative mindset, good things happen to me. So, um, you know, I want more good things to happen. So ironically, I have to be in a negative mindset. And perhaps even an example of that is a little bit, even just slightly, maybe not the best example, but like with my YouTube. So I was planning when I was wanting to be in more of a positive mindset, which is what I've tried to do the past couple of days. I had nothing but crap come my way. But I was planning on making several music videos, including one for Madonna's Ray of Light, which I've made so many of. I think I've made like 42 of those. But I came across a really good remix that I never heard before of the song, and I was excited to make a video for it. But that's too positive, right? Like if I do that, that's going to get me into a positive mindset, which, as my life experience has shown, only leads to bad things happening to me. So that would be one reason not to do it. And the other thing is, well, my music videos get basically no views, no likes, no attention, no nothing on YouTube. So why should I keep doing them, right? So I'm gonna do this kind of video. I think I'm gonna. I also talked earlier. I wanted to do a week-long boycott of making any music videos. I think now is the right time to start that boycott. I said I was gonna wait until I had a Rumble channel in place, but that was just because I wanted to be able to keep in a positive mindset of making the videos, that I would still make music videos, but I would gonna be posting them on Rumble. But I don't want to stay in that positive mindset. I mean, I want to, but it's not really a good idea for me if it's only going to lead to negative outcomes in my life. So I don't need to worry about setting up the Rumble channel first before doing my week-long boycott of making music videos on YouTube. Because so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to start my week-long boycott now. So for now until a week from now, so that will be on the 22nd. Like I'm not going to, what will we say? We'll say that next Saturday is the next day that I am allowed to make another music video. So I'm boycotting myself from making music videos for the next week. This is because two reasons. A, they put me into a positive mindset, which is dangerous and risky because that leads to negative outcomes for me. And B, that these videos get no attention, no views on YouTube anyways. And indeed, YouTube is degrading the image quality of them. So I upload them in high def and they show them in standard def. Okay, so there's really no reason why I would be putting artistic content on YouTube. Period, really, even after a week. But I'll resume it after a week. Okay, so for this next week, I'm going to do videos like this style of video instead. So stuff that's really negative, really hard-hitting, and stuff that I pretty much know that the powers that be, the controllers, don't really want me talking about or exposing people to. So, if they're so triggered and annoyed by my music videos, let's give them something to really be annoyed about. Okay, so this is this is a horrible story. But what's interesting to me about it, what jumped out to me, is that the name of the victim, which is a name that is well known in the Vancouver area, is not in the story. And I don't know quite why that is. Let's read the story and then we'll talk about it. So, trial of man accused in murder of Burnaby teen adjourned for another week is the heading. And the subheading is, the Vancouver trial of a man accused in the murder of a Burnaby teen has been adjourned for another week. Okay. The Vancouver trial of a man accused of murdering a Burnaby teen nearly 6 years ago has been adjourned for another week. The Vancouver... Okay. It's been adjourned for another week. Yeah, we get it. We said it 3 times now. The reason for the delay in the trial of Ibrahim Ali, who has pleaded not guilty to the July 2017 first-degree murder, cannot be disclosed because a publication ban was imposed by BC Supreme Court Justice Lance Bernard. The murder victim cannot be named. Oh, okay, they're saying it right there. What? The murder victim cannot be named. Really, because other news has named. A 14-person jury that is hearing the case has been told to return to the Vancouver courtroom next Wednesday afternoon. The trial began last week with Ali entering his plea and the judge giving his opening instructions to the jury. But before the trial could begin with the Crown's opening, the case was put over. The girl's body was found by police in a wooded area of Burnaby Central Park after she had been reported missing by her family. Ali is not to be confused with another man with the same name and birth year who was convicted in a 2016 fatal hit and run. Okay. Well, what's this business? Okay, so there's a lot of secrecy around this. Like, first of all, so they're telling, like, what is the point of it? Like, they're telling us the trial has been adjourned, but we can't tell you why, because that's been under a publication ban. We also can't tell you the name of the victim, because that's due to a publication ban. Really, that's news to me, because other news outlets have said the name of the victim. And it's not like anybody doesn't know the name of the victim. Like, everyone knows what this is about. Okay, so let's just go over to see what CTV News is talking about here. Murder trial set to begin nearly 6 years after teen's body found in BC Park. So here, are these on the same date, April the 4th? April the 12th. Okay, so that's it. So on April the 4th, they could say the name. They could say the name of the victim, but by April the 12th, it appears that the media was not allowed to say the name. But the stories from April the 4th are still online. Like, so it's Marissa Shen. Okay, everyone knows what we're talking about here. Marissa Shen. So this is a high-profile case that happened in Vancouver, or in Burnaby, which is right next to Vancouver. I was going to say a suburb of Vancouver, but it's not really a suburb, and how that word is usually understood to mean. Okay, so it's basically right next to Vancouver, Burnaby, and Central Park is a big park in Burnaby, right next to the boundary with Vancouver, and it's a big forested park. Okay, and it's kind of scary, to be honest, to walk through there, especially at night or because it's very dark. Like, it's kind of has a bad reputation. Like, I never went there because I thought it was not safe. Anyways, this 13-year-old girl did go there, apparently, and was allegedly murdered by this guy, and allegedly, okay, and it was just such a heart-wrenching case. Like before the guy was caught, like, I just remember everyone was like so worried, like, what happened to her, because I mean, I lived in Burnaby. Did I live there in 2017? I don't think I lived there in 2017, but I mean, I lived in Burnaby from 2018 until before I just moved to Kamloops. So 2018 to 2021, I was living in Burnaby, pretty close to Central Park, actually. And even before that, like, I worked in Burnaby, and my daily, so even when I was living in Vancouver, I worked in Burnaby, and my daily commute had me going right by Central Park all the time. So it's an area that I'm very familiar with. And I just remember when this happened, like, people were really sad. Like, it really, I mean, murders happen all the time in the Vancouver area. But there was something about this murder that just hit people so hard, probably because the victim was so young. And it just seemed like such a tragedy. And, I mean, obviously it is a tragedy anytime someone gets murdered, but especially a child. So, it was just such a heart-wrenching case, is all I can say. Like, it was such a heart-wrenching case. And when the person was arrested for her murder, allegedly that he is an alleged murderer of this teen, that's why he was arrested. When this news broke that they finally caught someone, because for first of a while they didn't know, like, there was no suspect or anything. It was revealed that this was a Syrian refugee. Okay, so he's a refugee this guy. I mean, that part is not alleged. It's alleged that he murdered her, but we do know that he is a refugee from Syria who came here during that time when a whole bunch of refugees were coming over. And he was actually, so there were some that the government sponsored, and then there were some that individual people could sponsor refugees as well. And so this particular refugee was sponsored by people living, I believe, on Galliano. Was it Galliano Island? One of the islands, uh, um, one of the islands just off the coast of Vancouver. Okay, not Vancouver Island. One of the small ones. Is it Galliano or Gabriola Island? One of those islands. Um, is a community of people raised money to sponsor a Syrian refugee, and so it was such a contentious issue, these Syrian refugees, because like people were not allowed to voice concern about an influx of refugees. I mean, the primary concern that immediately springs to my mind when thinking about, well, how is Vancouver going to or Vancouver area going to handle an influx of refugees? Like, well, where are they going to live? Because there's a huge housing crisis. Like, the people who already live in Vancouver can barely hang on to continue living there due to the housing crisis. Now we're going to bring in refugees. Like, where are they going to live? Like, there's nowhere for people to live. So that would probably be certainly my biggest concern coming from a housing perspective. But there's all kinds of concerns, but no, people weren't allowed to voice them. And this was like kind of like around the turning point, like the beginning of the left being really, really intolerant to difference of opinion. Like I remember coming home from work, and I don't know if it was the Colbert show, Stephen Colbert, or maybe it was this woman, Samantha Bee. And I first got exposed to her through Colbert, but she eventually, maybe she has her own show as well. So I don't know if it was her own show or if it was on the Colbert show, but whatever it was, there was this stand-up comedian, Samantha Bee, and she was making jokes about people who are have concerns or opposition to Syrian refugees coming over to the United States and presumably Canada as well. She was talking about she is Canadian. So one of the things that she said was like, if you have anything negative to say or any, like even just criticism or even just concerns about refugees from Syria, you need to shut up. Or I think she actually swore. Like she probably said it in even worse language than that. And, it was a week after that I saw that on TV that we canceled our cable. I told my husband, cut the cord. Like, we don't need to be paying. I don't need to be paying to, when I come home from a hard day at work, and then to be told that my concerns need to be like, I just need to be shut up outright about them. Like, and it was such a broad brush, like the way she said it. It wasn't even like, I mean, I think even people who are outright opposed to the refugees, which I was, should be allowed to say that too. But even the way Samantha Bee said it was like, even people who want the refugees to come over, but they might have certain concerns about them, like they just need to shut up about it. And I just thought that was just so rude. And like, so why would I be paying to be getting insulted? And then look what happens. Like, this refugee was sponsored by a community of presumably leftist people, like the type of people that live on these small islands off the coast of Vancouver. They're, generally speaking, they're like old hippie types. So hippies are usually more left-wing and older too, like old enough to have been hippies when hippies were a thing. So like, like these, like baby boomers basically. And so the thing I want to say about that is it's like, yeah, like, so people who live in a community, like an island, they're sheltered from the effects of the things that they're pushing for. So when they're pushing to have Syrian refugees brought to Canada, and then actually sponsoring one themselves and wanting to presumably they might support Samantha Bee, I don't know, wanting to shut down any kind of dissent or questioning of that, well, you're sheltered. Like, you don't need to worry about the effects of an influx of refugees because the refugees wouldn't be coming to your island. I mean, these people who live on these islands are actually incredibly closed-minded. Like, they don't even want people from Vancouver coming and staying more than a weekend. Like, so they're a very closed off community. So you're sheltered from the impacts of the very thing that you're causing or pushing for or supporting or sponsoring, in this case would be the right verb. Um, so so okay, so you're sheltered from that, but so you're going to deny people who actually live in the city and who are actually going to have to live amongst these refugees. You're going to deny those people from having a voice and voicing their concerns. And I just think it's so ironic, I mean tragic as well. But it's just so ironic the way that angle of the story, the fact that this refugee was sponsored by leftist baby boomer hippies who live in a very sheltered, closed off community, literally on an island, where they're not going to have to experience any kind of impacts of the influx of refugees that they're supporting. So, and of course, the worst possible impact. I mean, this is the worst possible impact. I mean, let alone impacts on housing or the other things. I mean, those are quite serious impacts too. But when somebody actually gets murdered, if that's what indeed happened, because innocent until proven guilty, it's only alleged at this point in time. But I mean, if that's what happened, this would be an example of the worst possible impact. And so, but that can happen. So we should be able to speak about our concerns is really what I want to say about that. Okay, but why? Okay, why is it that they cannot say the name? Like, it speaks to a democracy deficit in Canada, this whole story. So not only was it that people weren't allowed to criticize or voice concerns about the influx of the refugees, now this particular refugee is on trial for an alleged murder, and we're not allowed to say the name of the victim, even though everybody knows, like, it's such a high profile case. Like, everybody in Burnaby and for miles around would know the name of that victim. And the news had it blasting the name of the victim, for years and years and years, right up until a couple of days before the trial. So I mean, it's not a secret. But we have to put up these appearances like as though it is a secret, but it's really not. We just can't. Like, it's just so dumb. Like, the Vancouver Sun has this name and this girl's picture plastered all over its pages for years, and now all of a sudden they're saying they can't say it. Okay, well, we can cross-reference and still know it. It's not like it's a secret. And the other thing is, why did it take so long? Like, the reason for the delay cannot be disclosed. So there's already a delay. Like, no, they're asking for a delay now. Adjourned for another week. So there's a delay for another week. And that, okay. So that, and they can't say the reason for that. But even the fact that it took this long for the trial to get started, I mean, that's a delay too. So there's two delays here. There's the delay in the week-long pushing it back, but then the fact that it didn't even get started until April of 2022, and it's something that happened in July of 2017. And he was arrested shortly thereafter, like that summer. I mean, if not July, then probably August. Like, it was shortly after that time. It wasn't like years passed before the guy was arrested and charged. It happened right around that time. So it was like, what is that? Like 5 years? To almost 5 years later, and for the trial to begin. Like, that's also an example of a lapse in justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. It shouldn't take that long. That criticism cuts both ways. I mean, if the guy turns out to be innocent, then that's 5 years of his life gone down the drain, over should have had a trial much sooner to clear his name. So, that's neither. So, that really cuts both ways. So Canada really has a lot of problems and a lot of problems with its justice system. I mean, this is a clear example right here of pretty much a broken justice system, that it took so long for the case to even reach trial. And now that it's reached trial, there's even yet more delays and more secrecy being put on it as to why there are those delays, and this BS about not being able to say the victim's name, even though everybody knows who the victim is, including the media has been splashing the name around for years. All right. that's all I have to say about that. Expect more negative content such as this for the rest of the week. Bye for now.